Lesson 1.4 is patterns and functions. So there is quite a few vocabulary terms for this section. First, we have the word function. A function is a relationship that assigns exactly one output for each input. A function rule is an equation. Here is the key part. So if I ask you to write a function rule, it would look like an equation most of the time in y equals mx plus b for now. So that is an equation. An independent variable is a variable that provides the input values of a function. So input, independent, notice the in and the in. And the dependent variable is a variable that provides the output. So whatever, you know, when you have a table and I give you these numbers, that's the input. That's what you're going to put into an equation. Let's say you have an equation 2x plus 3. So these are the independent variables because they're independent. They're always there. It doesn't rely on anything. A 1 doesn't rely on anything. The output is what you get when you put in 1 here. 2 times 1 plus 3, and this is 5. This is dependent because it depends on what this equation is. I could change that equation and get a totally different answer, and then it would be a different number instead of 5. So it's dependent on the equation. So independent and dependent variables. And then we also have domain and range. Domain is the set of possible values for input or the independent variable. So all these numbers are the domain. And then the range is the set of possible values for the output or the dependent variable. So when you get your answers, these are the range. Okay, suppose you're washing and drying your clothes at a self-service laundromat, and the relationship between the number of loads, the input, so 1 load, and the cost is a function. Use the table to write a function rule. So here's the table. Number of loads is 1, the cost is $2.75. If I do 2 loads, it's $5.50. If I do 3 loads, it's $8.25. So if I want you to write a function rule, you need to, now notice they changed it and didn't use X and Y. They did C and N. Remember this from a previous lesson where they said you have to define a variable? You have to do that first. So let N equal the number of loads and C is the total cost. So the total cost equals $2.75 times the number of loads. So that is your function rule. It's an equation. So try this one. Write a function rule for the relationship between the number of hours and the number of miles. So I'm going to let H equal hours and M equal miles. So if I say that my hours is 1 and my miles are 60, if I went 2 hours, I would get 120. So I want my output, so that is M equals, and then I look at to see what is getting multiplied. Well, the 60 is getting multiplied times the number of hours. So if I went, now this is where I always double check myself. Double check. If I went 4 hours, that would be 240 miles. So that makes sense. So my equation makes sense. All right. The table and graph model a function relating the storage capacity of a memory stick and its cost. Identify the independent and dependent quantities. Now, the cost is the dependent quantity because it depends on the size of the memory stick. And you can kind of 99% of the time, the independent variable would be here in the X column, and then the dependent is in the Y. So now if I pick up a 32 megabyte memory stick, the cost is $19. If it's 64, the cost is $29. So what is independent is these sizes. They don't change. And then the price changes based on the size. So try this one. The cooking time for an unstuffed turkey is about 20 minutes per pound. What are the independent quantity and the dependent quantity for this situation? So think about this. If I were to make a table, okay, and I have 20 minutes per pound, so 1 pound is 20 minutes, 2 pounds is 40 minutes, 3 pounds is 60 minutes, 4 pounds is 80 minutes. So this is pounds and this is minutes. If you think about it that way of making a table, the pounds are going to be just whatever turkey you pick up. That's what's going to be the pound. It doesn't change. It's just whatever it is. But the minutes will change based on the pounds. So the pounds is the independent variable and the minutes are the dependent variable. Okay, domain versus range. So domain are the independent variables, the inputs, the x values. Those are the three main things. And the range is the dependent variables, the outputs, or the y values. So here's two situations. Try these problems, push pause, and then we'll go over them. Okay. So, situation 1. Maria earns $7 per hour babysitting after school on a Saturday. She works no more than 16 hours a week. Identify the independent and dependent variable first. What is a reasonable domain and range for this situation? So, what I would do is make a table. Okay? So, she gets $7 an hour. So, 1 hour is $7. Hour, and then her money. 2 hours is $14. 3 hours is $21. 4 hours is $28, and so on, up to 16. So now I have my independent variable and my dependent variable. So what is a reasonable domain and range for this situation? So you could just say my domain are numbers from 1 to 16. Because she could work 1 hour, but she works no more than 16. So your domain's not going to go any higher than 16. Now for the range, she could work none and have $0. And then you'd have to figure out, okay, if she works 16 hours times 7, that's 42, and that's 11. So it would go up to 112. So that's my range. From 0, she could make no money. Let's say she's on vacation for a week, so she makes no money. Or she could work 16 hours a week and make $112. Hopefully this makes sense. Okay, situation 2. Charlie downloads songs for 75 cents each. He has between $3 and $6 to spend on songs. Identify the independent and dependent variable first, and what is a reasonable range, domain and range for this situation. So yet again, I make a quick little table, and if he gets 1 song, it's 75 cents. 2 songs is $1.50. 3 songs is $2.25. 4 songs is $3. So this is songs, and this is cost. So this is my independent variable, and this is my dependent variable. So my domain, which they told me, is he has $3 and $6 to spend. So he has between 3. So I know he's going to buy at least 4 songs. So my domain would go 4, 2, and then I have to find out how much $6 would be. So if 5 is $3.75, 4 is $4.50, 5 is $5.25. Oh gosh, no, I'm going backwards. 5, 6, 7, 8 is $6. So my domain would be between 4 and 8 songs because that's $3 to $6. That would be 4 songs to 8 songs. You could buy 4 to 8 songs. And then my range, which they kind of already told you, is $3 to $6. So this would be my group that I would focus on right here. All right, that's it for your notes.